Hi everyone, my name is Kirsty. I know you probably know who I am because you might have met me. What I am going to ask you to do is there is going to be a lag on this. So I would like you to let me know if you can actually hear me or not. There is going to be a lag on this. So can I just get you to chat for me and let me know if you can actually hear me? I'm going to keep on talking so that I'm not sat in silence. I'm here with David, who is a current Czech student. Some of you might have met him at the Gaudiamus event recently, or you might be friends with him from the Czech Republic. So if you can hear us, then that is fantastic. We'll make a start. If you have never taken a webinar with us before, what I'm going to do is a quick presentation, 10 to 15 minutes long. And then that's your opportunity to start asking questions. I'm getting a lot of yeses from you, so thank you for confirming that you can all hear me. David, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, ahoj, já jsem David, studuju business management, jsem momentálně ve druháku. Takže když budete mít jakýkoliv dotazy ohledně univerzity, ohledně žití v Newcastlu, můžete se ptát jak česky, tak anglicky. Můžeme komunikovat v obou jazycích, záleží, co je vám víc pohodlný. Kdybyste se chtěli zeptat na něco konkrétnějšího ohledně biznisu, není problém, můžu o tom víc poradit. A jinak Kirsty řekne teď víc o té prezentaci.
Lovely, thank you. So I'm going to start the presentation. Bear with us because we're going to have to share the screen and it does look a bit crazy when I first do it. So why choose Northumbria? This is why we are here today, hopefully to make you make the best decision. I'm going to play you a very quick video, and this will give you a little bit about us. So that video does hopefully give you a little bit of an idea. I have to say it's one of my favorite videos because it really does give a great impression of everything that we can offer you as a university. We are based in the heart of Newcastle. It's possibly why you've made your decision to apply to us. And we're regularly voted one of the best places for students. I mean, you can see from that picture there, we've got an absolutely stunning city with a river going down through the middle of us. It's a really great place to be as a student. We are a student city with ourselves and one other university. So we have about 34,000 students from over 134 nationalities. And we have over 4,000 international students. So that's not including all of our students from Europe. 94% of our students go into further education or employability once they graduate. And we have 63 professional bodies actually accrediting our programs. That's something you want to look at when you are deciding where you want to go, because if a degree is accredited by the governing body, then that means it's recognized both in the UK but also globally. Now, 3 reasons why our students tend to tell us that they choose Northumbria. The first is location. We are the regional capital of the North. We're right on the coast. It's absolutely gorgeous, and you can still get to London in just over 2.5 hours on the fastest train. So maybe think of us as in the middle of the UK as opposed to in the north of England. We have an international airport, and you can actually fly in and out of Newcastle from the Czech Republic, which is great. Our sports facilities are fourth in the UK. We've got a phenomenal sports central. You can see just a few pictures of the actual facilities there, including a climbing wall. We've got the Commonwealth swimming pool, and we've got a fully equipped gymnasium as well. Now, we were voted the best place to visit in the world in 2018. If that is not a selling point, then I don't know what is. The quayside itself is gorgeous, and we've got on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see Gateshead there, which is our sister city. Famously Friendly Geordies, that top left-hand corner is actually our local landmark, the Angel of the North. We've got a thriving arts and cultural scene, so anything from theatres, cinemas, concerts, gigs, from the small to the huge at Metro Radio Arena. And if you weren't aware, and I'm sure David can tell you, we are #1 in the UK for our nightlife. Our employability. Now, this is something you might not be thinking about this now. You're just you're coming to university, you're just even choosing your degree. But what you are thinking about is, what are you going to do after university? Why are you choosing that particular degree? So what we can offer you is support. We have over 560 partnerships with businesses, whether that's for short-term placement, volunteer opportunities, employers coming and guiding our students on their degrees. I've mentioned the accreditation that we have, and we have an award-winning careers department. So if you ever need any assistance or guidance from getting a part-time job when you first get here, right through to getting graduate employment when you leave, and even after you leave as an alumni, you have the support of our careers department. The industry standard facilities that we have will allow you to come from university and transition into work really easily, because you'll know what you're going to be working with. And for some of our programs, many of our programs, you actually get live project briefs from companies. So for example, in our business clinic, which I'll talk about later, and our student law office, which is award-winning, where you get to work with clients and give them access to legal advice. Our opportunities that we have, for example, global exchange programs. If you want to do Erasmus Plus, if you want to work or go around the world and study in one of our partner universities, then we have this on offer. All of our undergraduate courses offer a industry placement, whether that's a short-term semester-long placement right through to a full year-long placement. I know David can tell you about what he's looking forward to in his next year. There is part-time work both at the university on campus and obviously in the surrounding northeast area. There's loads of opportunities for you to get a job if you're willing to go out there and get one, really. Enterprise and Innovation Fund is there for any graduates that might want to go and start up their own businesses. If you've got an idea, can we help you develop it? And in future, I've already mentioned the number of graduates in work. Actually, on some of our programs, that percentage goes up to 96%, because, for example, architecture is so well renowned and well thought of in the UK and further afield that employers come to us to seek their next team members. We are UK #1 for graduate startups. So our Business Hatchery, for example, which allows you to have your own office space, have your own facilities, have access to mentors who can help and advise you if you have a feasible business plan. And we're actually 5th in the UK for our professional employment. So those going into professional skills such as engineering, architecture, law, business, those sorts of things. These are the sorts of placement businesses where our students have gone to in the past. So I'm sure you'll recognize a few names on there, right from Microsoft, Nike, Panasonic. So if you want to have the opportunity to go and use your knowledge, use your skills, network, build relationships with future employers, then the placement that we offer you as part of your undergraduate degree is something that we really do try and recommend that people take advantage of. Now, our business clinic, I did mention this. Now, this is for students who might choose not to take a placement year, but we are absolutely passionate about you getting industry experience. So people think that you can't get industry experience when you work in business until you actually graduate. Actually, what we offer is a niche offering where, again, businesses come to us. They might have an idea, but they don't know how to start it. And they might have a problem that needs solving, and they want to, not only do they want to solve their problems or sort of bear fruit to their ideas, they also want to give our students the opportunity to use their knowledge and stretch their skills and put into practice everything that they've been learning on their undergraduate degree. So they actually come to us and we work with them. And you might not recognize any of these names. These might be slightly smaller local businesses to the UK, but actually these really give you the opportunity to put those skills into practice. Now, study abroad and exchange, a lot of you I know I've spoken to are interested in the opportunities that we offer you just to get out and you come into another culture already, but the more experience that you can get at university, the better. And you can see here that some of the placements that we have offered both inside of Europe and outside of Europe. So you've got Amsterdam, Spain, France, Lithuania. Those are some popular destinations in Europe. And then, but outside, you can see we go as far afield as New Zealand, the US, massively popular in the US, China, Thailand. So if there is something that you want to experience, now is the time to do it. Don't wait until you're out in the world of work, because it can be really easy to get into the routine of just having the normal life when you leave university. Now's the time really to get the experiences that you can. And we're great value. Anyone that has spoken to me will know that I absolutely bang on about the fact that Newcastle is probably one of the most affordable places to live in the UK. The further away from the south that you get, the higher up in the country you get, obviously the cheaper it is. Our accommodation ranges from around 75 to 130 pounds per week. Obviously, the more that you spend, the better the accommodation or the better the facilities that you have. For example, one of our newest accommodations, Trinity Building, 119 pounds a week, will get you en-suite accommodation in absolutely gorgeous apartments with between 4 and 6 people. So all of our students are guaranteed a bedroom. We do have accommodation in the top 5 in the UK, according to our What Uni survey, and it's all within easy walking distance of the campus, and I think that's something to bear in mind. Just to sort of like hammer this point home a little bit, I showed this to David earlier. A 1-bedroom flat in London, and you can see the bedroom now on the left, is actually £795 per week. That's a 1-bedroom flat. I haven't totaled that up as a monthly value. And yet on the right-hand side, you've got a 2-bedroom apartment on the quayside, which is city centre in Newcastle, overlooking the river, right in the heart of everything. And that's £196 per week. It's actually just slightly more expensive for the entire month than it is to live in London for a week. So if you haven't considered that, maybe you want to. Our entry requirements, I'm going to round this up nicely with our entry requirements. You would need a score of 2.5 in your maturita. Now, some degrees will require specific subjects, engineering, for example, and then our creative degrees will require a portfolio or an audition if you're doing something like drama. Now, we do accept your maturita English score if you achieve a score of 2. If you are unsuccessful or you choose not to take English at maturita, then we obviously accept a variety of English language tests, with IELTS and CAE being 2 of the most popular that we have. One of the biggest selling points, and something that I'm really proud to be able to offer, is our academic excellence scholarships. Obviously, we are attracting some of the highest caliber, highest quality students. And one of the ways that we do that is to celebrate your success at high school. with a sort of a congratulations. It's not a discount on your fees. This is an extra £2,000 that's paid to you into your bank account in 3 instalments. And you can use that money for whatever you want to use it. You could put it towards accommodation, living expenses, food, flights home, all those sorts of things. And what we're asking for is a Maturity score of 1.5 or higher overall. So hopefully that covers everything. I've done a few of these webinars, and I know sometimes people are a little bit shy in asking questions. So I am going to put it out there. That's the end of the presentation. I'm going to come back onto screen now. Just bear with me. There we go. We're back. Hi. So I'm going to just see if anyone has any questions. And if you do, please use the chat function. And this is the time to ask questions. Obviously, I'm available all the time. You've got the awesome guys at Unilink who are very knowledgeable and have all visited here as well, so they can tell you about the city. But if anyone has anything specific that they want to know or just have clarified, either by myself or David, then now is the time to do it. We are here at your pleasure. I'm going to start with David, and I'm going to ask him a question just to get you all sort of get the ball rolling. What made you choose to study in the UK, and sort of like what was your thought process, and how did you end up coming to Northumbria in Newcastle?
Yeah, shall I continue in English or
you can continue in Czech?
Czech, okay. Tak jak jste mohli slyšet, začnu teda nejdříve, proč jsem si vybral studovat v Anglii, tak za prvý rozhodně kvůli tomu, že budu mít mezinárodně uznávaný titul, což znamená, veškeré školy v Anglii jsou prestižnější, konkrétně Northumbria se vede ve srovnání v žebříčku všech univerzit v rámci univerzity i mezinárodně velice dobře, hlavně co se týče business school, kterou já teda studuju. Takže hlavním důvodem byl ten titul a druhým hlavním důvodem byla praktičnost. A to z toho hlediska, že za prvý mám možnost toho placementu, který mě čeká příští rok, a za druhý i veškerý studia jsou zaměřený prakticky. Což znamená, už od prváku jsme vlastně měli předmět, ve kterém jsme se věnovali reální firmě, která vlastně sídlí tady okolo nás, a měli jsme vymyslet, jak by mohli dál pokračovat ve svém business plánu, co by mohli vylepšit, a vlastně už od prváku jste rovnou hozený do té praxe, což se mi na tom hrozně líbí. Nehrozí tady žádný vlastně šprtání, že jsem si něco memorizovat nazpaměť, abych to pak odříkal na zkoušce. Vlastně zkoušek je tady minimum. Většinou, když už se hodnotí, tak se hodnotí buď to váš progres v týmu, jak jsem říkal na tom projektu, a nebo musíte napsat akademickou esej, což mě vyhovuje třeba mnohem víc, protože to napíšu ve svém volném čase, kdy já si k tomu sednu, a ne, že třeba spoustě lidem se stává, že přijdou ke zkoušce a ze stresu spoustu věcí zapomenou, protože se nedokážou soustředit. To se vám u psaní eseje nestane. Takže to jsou takový ty dva pro mě největší benefity studia v Anglii. No a pak samozřejmě angličtina, kterou si tady zdokonalíte úplně masivní.
Excellent. Thank you. So you've come to Northumbria. When you first got here, have you covered that? What you thought about it when you first got here?
Yeah, I haven't covered that.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, sure. So, když jsem vlastně poprvé přijel, tak rozhodně ze začátku je to trošku šok, jste někde úplně poprvé v cizí zemi, vlastně tu kulturu jsem prakticky neznal a nevěděl jsem, vlastně jsem tady neznal ani žádný lidi, ale bylo to super, že jsem vlastně nelenil a hnedka druhý den jsem přiletěl v pátek večer a hned druhý den ráno jsem šel do studentské unie, což doporučuji všem, aby vlastně, když během Freshers Weeku se dějou některé ty aktivity, tak v Northumbrii teda každý den je to nadupaný, vlastně celý ten týden jsou aktivity dopoledne, odpoledne a pak i večer, tak doporučuji rozhodně jít na všechny, poznáte se tam se spoustou lidí, ať už mezinárodních nebo i s Britama, a vlastně tak nějak vám to pomůže usnadnit to najetí do těch kolejí, do toho nového života v Anglii. A vlastně po Freshers Weeku vás čeká, vám začne výuka, vlastně to bude první týden a všechno takový úvod do předmětu a nemusíte se bát, že by vás do něčeho hodili, je to všechno takový, abyste se sjednotili v učení a myslím si, že je to takový hodně pozvolný, že nám to usnadní ten přestup, není to žádný extra šok. Co se týče třeba, já jsem se hrozně bál, když jsem šel sem angličtiny, a já jsem sice měl dobrou angličtinu, co se týče ze střední školy, z Gimplu, ale já jsem se bál toho, jestli v tom jazyce dokážu studovat, tak toho se vůbec nemusíte bát, to je na tom to nejjednodušší, protože vlastně ty lektoři, čím jsou vzdělanější ti lidé, tak tím vytřívěnější angličtinu mají, což znamená, že na všech přednáškách vůbec není problém rozumět, lektoři nedrmolí, nemelou moc rychle, mluví srozumitelně, můžete se kdykoliv na cokoliv zeptat, a takže v tom taky vůbec není problém. A myslím si, že to bylo super, že jsem sem šel, protože ta univerzita mi dává spoustu možností, které mý spolužáci, kteří zůstali v Čechách, vlastně vůbec nemají.
Lovely. Now we have a couple of questions, so thank you. So Simona, so what you've asked, Simona, is in the university calendar, there is written that the third semester is between May and September, and does that mean there's no summer holiday? No, don't worry. The academic year runs from the 1st of September right through to the 31st of August. But actually the teaching semesters work a little bit differently. So you would join us in the middle of September. You'd have Freshers Week, which I know David just told you about, and then you start your teaching, and you then head into your Christmas break around the end of December, and you come back to an assessment period at the beginning of January, and from January you then work through to Easter time. Now, some degree programs do have what we call a reading week, and that's it's a research week, so it gives you the opportunity to catch up on assignments, any research that you would be expected to do ready for the next assessment period. Some degrees have exams, some do not. So the second semester ends around April time, depending on when Easter falls, and then you do come back for assessment and exam periods. But generally you can be looking to finish around May, June time. And then obviously you wouldn't come back until the following September. And it's entirely up to you if you want to come back for Freshers Week again. But yes, do not worry, we will absolutely give you a summer holiday. And to be honest, most people will go home and they would use it to get a part-time job. So yes, have no fear.
Yeah, I would just add to it that sometimes even during the exam period, you might be lucky and not have any exams at all, which was, for example, me this year. So from vacation, which was 3 weeks, I stayed in the Czech Republic for another 2 weeks because I didn't have any exams. I just submitted all my essays electronically.
Yeah. So we do offer electronic submission, as David's saying, and it makes it much easier. You don't actually have to be on campus, and you upload your assignments via our electronic system, and you know that you're going to get them in on time, and you can work up to the deadline as well. We've got another one from Lucas. Now, I don't know if you can answer this, but how hard is it to find a part-time job in Newcastle?
I would say it's, or maybe I should go and check. Co se týče brigád, myslím si, že je to hodně o tom, jak se kdo snaží. Já jsem třeba potřeboval si brigádu najít hodně rychle, takže hnedka, když jsem sem dorazil, tak jsem se začal zařizovat ten National Insurance Number, což vám může zabrat, dejme tomu, okolo měsíce, během měsíce by to mělo být vyřízený, a pak už můžete kamkoliv nastoupit do práce. A já jsem hledal teda hodně intenzivně, ale našel jsem si práci už během prvního měsíce, takže vlastně měsíc po příletu už jsem měl práci jistou, a dokonce jsem měl 3 nabídky, takže 2 z nich jsem odmítnul a jednu vlastně z toho jsem doporučil tam moji kamarádku, která pořád nic neměla a scháněla, tak jsem ji vlastně tam doporučil a díky tomu měla práci ona. Co se týče prváků, tak většinou můžete dělat pro univerzitu taky, což znamená, když jsou nějaký dny otevřených dveří, tak to je třeba 1-2krát do měsíce, můžete pracovat pro univerzitu a fungujete vlastně jako takový point, který probírá nový studenty kampusem, ukazuje jim, co je kde okolo, nebo je nasměrovává. Tahle práce pro univerzitu je hodně dobře placená. Momentálně je to nějakých 7,80 na hodinu, ale jak jsem říkal, je to jenom příležitost, je to maximálně 2krát do měsíce. Jinak v prváku převážně lidi pracují v nějakých podnicích ve městě. Já jsem vlastně loni dělal brigádu v kině. No a teď, jak jsem v druháku, tak už pracuji pro studentskou unii, pracuji tady ve studentském baru a obecně platí, že tyhle práce jsou líp placený, takže tam si vydělám nějakých 8,20 na hodinu, ale pokud přijedete, tak hnedka v prváku není možné se tam hlásit, protože oni vlastně teď je výběrový řízení pro lidi, co nastoupí na příští rok. Takže od druháku byste teoreticky mohli taky pracovat pro studentskou unii a vydělávat si trošičku, řekl bych, lepší plat a taky za lepších podmínek. Vlastně máte to přímo na kampusu, takže zpravidla to máte blíž k ubytování. Ale abych to shrnul, rozhodně není těžký si tady brigádu najít.
Okay, now we've had a couple of really good questions. I'm going to take the first one. How will Brexit affect my studying? That is an excellent question. I can tell you that if you are coming to study in the UK, and this is a blanket response, and it doesn't just go for Northumbria University. So regardless of where you choose to study, if you are coming in September 2019, this year, then you will not be affected. Our government has already clarified that your student loan will be paid for the full duration of your studies. So you won't have to stop studying, your degree won't be cut short. But I think what people are sometimes concerned about is what value will their degree have when they complete their studies. And again, I think what you have to understand is, although we might be leaving the European Union, the UK has hundreds of years worth of educational history behind it. So the degrees are all still incredibly valuable and they are still recognized globally. So if you consider the countries that aren't part of the European Union, such as Australia, the United States, the Asias, our degrees are recognized there. And so this won't be a problem although when the UK does leave the European Union. So don't be worried about that. And that is not a specific response just for Northumbria. That is for the UK as a whole. Now the second one I think will be a great one for you, David. How hard is it to begin work and think in the English language? I guess you get used to it, but how much time does it take? I'm going to ask you to add on about what you think of the Geordie accent as well.
Of course. Co se týče angličtiny, jak už jsem říkal, tak jsem se toho bál z hlediska studování, z hlediska žití ve městě a žití v Anglii jako takový. Myslím si, že v tom problém není. Jako na většinu toho se zvyknete už během měsíce, měsíc, dva a už budete zajetý prakticky ve všem. Mimo to, pokud by se nám třeba zastesklo, tak na Northumbrii už je 100 českých studentů, takže je tady docela velká základna, pokud byste si chtěli pokecat s někým česky, taky to není problém. Zpátky k té angličtině, ano, v Newcastle je Geordie accent, což ze začátku může někomu činit problémy. Třeba já, když jsem se sem stěhoval, tak jsem to vůbec netušil. A když jsem poprvé nastoupil v práci, tak jak jsem říkal, ve škole jsem s tím problém neměl vůbec žádný. Ale v kině, když jsem poprvé začal pracovat, tak občas jsem měl velký problémy rozumět, a to hlavně mým kolegům. Konkrétně tam byli dva, kteří byli přímo z centra Newcastle a hlavně oni vůbec neartikulovali a mumlali. Takže tam mi trvalo třeba 4-5 měsíců, než jsem se tomu jednomu naučil rozumět. Jo? Tam to může být trošku komplikovanější, ale to je extrémní a ojedinělý příklad. Jinak vlastně si myslím, že zvyknout se na to dá hodně rychle. No a přemýšlení v angličtině, myslím si, že pro mě největší zlomový bod bylo, když jsem mi zhruba po 3 měsících, byl jsem tady tak 3-4 měsíce a probudil jsem se a zdál se mi sen v angličtině. Tak to jsem se zbudil a koukal jsem jako wow, co se to stalo, to neznám. A vlastně od té doby se mi to děje běžně, většinou je to zpravidla podle toho, kde se ten sen odehrává. Když je to s lidma, který znám z Čech, tak s nimi mluvím česky, když je to s lidma, který jsem poznal až tady, tak s nimi i ve snu mluvím anglicky. Myslím si, že teda těžký to vůbec není a samozřejmě je to hodně individuální. Někdo si zvykne rychle, já jsem třeba docela asi dost adaptibilní, takže mě ten měsíc stačil, ale i pokud někdo si není tak flexibilní, tak si myslím, že do 3 měsíců úplně bez problémů budete naprosto zajetý v angličtině.
So we've had a couple more through. How is the quality of the healthcare? So I've been unlucky enough personally to visit many different healthcare areas in different countries. Our healthcare is actually some of the best in the world, particularly in the northeast. Actually, we have the National Health Service, which is the UK's free healthcare service, and we don't have a paid for or insurance style healthcare like you might assume in the States. So as an EU national, you would have access to that healthcare, and we would assume that as a student coming, those rights would still be available to you after Brexit as well. So your status as a student wouldn't change. But the hospitals that we have in the northeast, if you're concerned about ending up in hospital, are incredibly good. And obviously we're welcoming in people from all over the world to be doctors and nurses for us. So I don't think you need to worry about healthcare too much. We just had another one about hard Brexit, and again, I will take that. There has been no information yet about whether students will require work visas. It has been advertised that that is a potential, but at the moment we're not looking at having a hard Brexit. Our government is working incredibly hard to negotiate with obviously the EU Parliament, and it's about the Irish backstop, it's about the trade routes through Ireland. We are not anticipating a hard Brexit, regardless of how the newspapers are advertising things. However, if there is any change to that, then obviously the universities will be incredibly quick to advertise that on their websites, but also put in place any assistance that any existing students might need. We cannot say either way, unfortunately. Lots and lots of questions can be asked about Brexit, and if anyone wants to, to ask any further questions, then please do feel free. What I will say though is I have as much information as you do, and unfortunately that is fairly limited because the government haven't come out and actually given us any guidance as to what we can expect, other than categorically you will receive your student loan in full for the full duration of your degree programme. So that's kind of all I can really talk about with Brexit. But obviously, if anyone has any questions, please pop them in the chat. Where are we up to? How lucky do I need to be to get into Trinity Square? Yeah. Well, from our accommodation setup, you can talk about where you live and what you think about student accommodation, but the way you get to choose your accommodation with us is quite different to some universities where you might be in a lottery. Whereas for us, if you accept your offer and make us your firm or insurance choice, then you can choose your accommodation immediately. And that means you would choose your building, so Trinity Square. You would then get sent a floor plan, and you would choose which apartment you wanted to be in, whereabouts in Trinity building you wanted that to be, and then you would choose precisely which bedroom you wanted to have. So there is no lottery involved. We are advertising Trinity at a promotional rate at the moment. So you're looking at that £119 per week, and we actually worked that out. If you did around between 20 and 24 hours of work per week, then you could actually afford to stay in Trinity Square, but also have money left over. So it's definitely a viable option if that's somewhere that you want to live, because it is very nice. Do you want to tell us about what your experience was with your accommodation?
So in my first year, I lived in Glenamara House, right. Which is, I can recommend for everyone who is trying to look for sort of like the middle price range, because it's not the cheapest, but not the most expensive either. And it's freshly refurbished, yes. So all the rooms are really nice. You share your kitchen and you share the bathroom with between 5 to 8 people, I think. So in my personal experience, it was 7 people for 1 kitchen and 2 bathrooms actually, like 1 bathroom, 1 toilet, and 1 shower. So extra 3 rooms, which is good. And as you said, the booking system, yeah. It's really good that you can actually choose not only the flat but the actual bedroom. So, and you can also, when you're booking your room, you can see who's already booked the rooms next to you. So you can choose like if it's gonna be international students or if it's gonna be British students, only male, only female, you can choose. So this is a really good option. This year I live in a private accommodation. It's a private flat. It's about 15 minutes walk from university. It's in Sandefjord.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it's a popular location for students because it's cheap and it's close to university. Yeah. I pay £78 a week a week. This is bills not included. So in the end, it's similar to Glenamara as I had last year. but this offers me like more space because it's only two of us. It's 2-bedroom flat. So it's actually just two of us sharing a bathroom and sharing the kitchen, and we have a big living room we can share together as well. So private flat is usually a choice for second year or last year students. Yeah. Whereas like I would recommend for the first year to go to student house because that's where you meet a lot of new people, you make new friends, you can experience great parties.
Yes.
Yeah.
Trinity is renowned for its parties, yes. I think David's absolutely correct. Although I am far too old to be a student now, I would say definitely when you're coming to university, you really want to consider those friendship groups that you're going to make, social circles that you want to be in. We're really keen for our students to get involved. So actually all of the accommodation that we have, you will have access to social activities, and there's 24/7 security. You would need a key and a passcode to get in, so safety and security are paramount for us. We also have, so Trinity is one of our own buildings. There are other providers such as Liberty and Unite Students who we have a number of rooms that we rent from them. If you were to rent from them, you can still be guaranteed the same level of service and security that you would if you were staying in one of our accommodations. So really it's up to you, the price range. Do you want to have kitchen facilities? You would need to look at that. Claude Gibb is a catered accommodation, but if you choose to go uncatered at Claude Gibb, for example, you wouldn't have access to a kitchen. So it's something to think about when you're coming and deciding where you want to live. Do you want an ensuite, or are you happy to share a bathroom? So all these different things you need to think about. And then as David said, it's fairly common for students to go out and get their own apartment or flat or house in various areas. I don't know if we've mentioned, but Newcastle is really compact. So you can walk across the city in 40 minutes probably, and you can do a good amount of like sightseeing in Newcastle in a day. So if you're thinking about day-to-day living and getting onto campus, everywhere's pretty much within walking distance. And if you're having a bad day and maybe a late night, there is the bus and the metro system, so it will easily get you here.
Yeah, but it's true. I don't really have to use the public transport. No, at all. I just walk everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like within 20 minutes you can get almost everywhere. Sometimes 30 minutes, but mostly like 20 minutes you can get everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. Now we've been asked how many students are generally in class. So from my experience, I know that some of the degrees that you might be on will have shared modules, especially in the first year. And it's before you start making a specialization. So in our business school, we have some really big lecture theatres, which I think sit up to about 500 people.
Yeah, it's up to 500 people is the biggest one, and then the two smaller ones is like 250.
Yeah. So you might go into a lecture hall, and there will be literally hundreds of people in there. That's not to say that you are not going to have access to an academic on that program who will be specific for you. From the larger lectures, you'll be broken down into smaller groups, and you'll do your seminars and your sort of like your extracurricular stuff outside of the main lectures. But because some of the programs are so very similar, and for example, the business suite of programs, there are certain things that you need to have a knowledge of, regardless of what business you go into. And so to essentially share that knowledge with as many people as possible, as fewer times a week as possible, we put everyone into the large lecture theatres. We'll deliver that information to everyone, and then from there, that's when you split into your smaller, more bespoke degree groups. We then have other degree programs where you might be in a class of 10 students, depending on what you're studying. In the art and design programs, you might be working more in a studio situation. So you're not actually in an actual classroom. So you're taught in a studio situation. So every degree program is different. Every student you have a personal tutor who you can go to whenever you want. The academics all have an open door policy. So if you needed to speak to someone, they generally, depending on what faculty you're in, the academics are based in that faculty as well. So you can go and speak to them as and when you need to. So that's not something you need to worry about so much.
Yeah, and I would say the seminar groups are usually between 17 to 22 people. So approximately around 20 people are in each seminar group. Yeah. So it's not too much, and it's usually based around group work activities and like groups 4 to 5.
Yeah. So David, this one is for you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about other monthly expenses such as food and transport?
Jak jsem říkal, tak vlastně co se týče transportu, tak ten nemusím využívat vůbec, protože Newcastle je hodně kompaktní, všechno je vlastně dosažitelné vzdálenosti, takže to je obrovská výhoda. Jinak, když vám teda příklad, jak jsem žil v prváku, tak jsem bydlel v Benamáře, což mě vyšlo na 416 liber měsíčně. A pak vlastně ty výdaje, co se týče jídla a různých societies nebo i nights out, vlastně prádla a všechno okolo, tak to jsem se vešel většinou kolem 250-300 liber, takže do 700 liber to většinou vyjde měsíčně se vším všudy a máte tam zahrnutý úplně všechno. A vlastně tou brigádou není vůbec problém si to pokrýt. Pokud pracujete, dejme tomu 20 hodin týdně, tak je to úplně bez problémů, to máte za měsíc nějakých 80 hodin a vzhledem k tomu, jak se pohybují ty britské platy, tak spousta studentů je už vlastně už od druhého semestru kompletně finančně soběstačná, což je na tom super.
Fine. And so, Dominic, you have asked a question that you've seen on the web page that it's possible to do a dual degree exchange. Can you do that in computer science? Now, what I'm going to ask you to do, because that's not something I can really give you a huge amount of detail on right now, because I need to do a little bit of research, depending on what you mean by that. So I would ask you to email me or ask one of the Unilink counsellors to email me. And from there, I can put you in touch with colleagues who've got the expertise in that. Now, Tina, do you have to do presentations in front of the whole class alone? I'm going to say that from a university perspective, and David can go into the student perspective, from a university perspective, our aim is to give you a holistic experience on gaining knowledge, learning, researching, experiencing, and developing. And one of those things is developing into what it's going to be like to work in the real world. So if you are considering a career where you are going to have to be sharing ideas, having discussions with people, and I would say a lot of careers are quite like that, then we would be giving you the skills and the confidence, I hope, to present in front of groups, whether that's a whole class size. It would be unusual to present in front of one of the 500 students lectures. That would be very strange. But you may be presenting in front of 20 to 30 students. David, what are your thoughts on this?
From my experience, it's usually not a presentation on your own. It's more like team presentations. So basically a team of 4 to 5 people presents to other 10, 15 people. So it's nothing to be worried about. And the lecturers usually are trying to help you not to be scared to present in front of others. So they all recognize that some people don't like presentation. Actually, they say most students don't like presentations. I'm quite the opposite. I enjoy them. But they always say and encourage you to do, for example, once in a module, sometimes not even that. And as I said, there's nothing to worry about because it's a Zoom presentation and just in the seminar group.
Yeah. I think it's something to be scared of. You would have to consider the degree that you're doing, but then forward thinking into the career that you're going to be going into. Is that something that's going to be required from you? But again, hopefully one thing that coming to university will do is really give you that confidence if it is something that you are concerned about doing. So we have run out of questions so far on here, but we've still got a bit of time because we're here, I think, until about 5 o'clock. I'm going to ask you, David, have you done any traveling at all around the UK, or what do you find for the ease of, being in Newcastle compared to sort of getting around to other places?
Yeah, it's actually true that Newcastle has the benefit of being on the coast. So when it's sunny, you can actually take the even when it's not sunny, you can take the metro to get to the coast. But when it's sunny, it's really nice to go there for a walk, get fish and chips on Tynemouth. Nice. Yeah. Very nice afternoon. Otherwise, this is 20 minutes. 20 minutes by metro. Yeah, by the metro. So it's really close. Otherwise, very approximate is Alnwick Castle with Alnwick Garden.
Yeah.
Have you been there?
I have. Harry Potter.
Yeah, so basically there's a Harry Potter souvenir shop as well where you can spend a huge amount of money. I don't recommend doing that. I just popped in and I saw all the good things. And I'm not a huge Harry Potter fan, but I saw like all the
Do you own a broomstick now?
Yeah.
And do you own a wand?
Yeah, exactly. You want all of that. So I had to leave immediately the souvenir shop because I would spend all my hard-earned money there.
Yeah.
But Alnwick Castle is really nice destination. Otherwise, I've actually, with my friend, we rented a car for a weekend, and we went around Scotland. So it's good that Newcastle is really in the center of the UK, so you can actually get to Scotland very, very easily. Yeah. It's like I don't know.
The border is about 50 minutes away.
Yeah.
The actual border into Scotland.
And like Edinburgh is like hour and a half drive. So we went to Edinburgh, then Perth, around Loch Lomond, Loch Ness, and then down to Glasgow and back to Stirling, Edinburgh. And we did all this in maybe 2.5 days. Wow. So it's really nice. Yeah, you can see a lot. So yeah, it's really good to travel around.
Yeah. I can second that. I mean, I'm obviously a Brit, I'm from around here, but one of my favourite things to do is actually holiday in the UK. So I've also done a very similar road trip around Scotland, driven down south. Because I travel for work, some of you might have met me, having the international airport means I can get to the different countries that I need to get to. We have some more questions. Are there any opportunities for a placement in a psychology degree? Yes, there are. I know that the website maybe looks a little strange because it looks like there isn't. I have reported that. But the third year is still set out as an option to do a full year's placement. Now, if you're looking through your degrees and you're seeing a new, this is if you're not doing a business degree, you might see that in the third year you have an option to study abroad and to do a full year's work placement or to do a year in international business. And this is for students who might be doing, for example, a psychology degree or English or science or computer science, but they want to have some experience with business because let's be honest, it doesn't matter what career you go into, there is going to be an element of business attached to it. Mm-hmm. So you have the opportunity to do that year where you would have a semester in Newcastle, you would stay in Newcastle for a semester, but then you would go to Amsterdam, which is amazing. So you would get that extra semester in Amsterdam and there's 5 modules that you would study and they give you a beginner's knowledge into the world of business. But not only that, that's actually shown on your certificate. So you could go out and show employers what it is that you have actually studied and gained. So you are essentially a better potential employee for them because you have all of these extra skills on top of your degree. So have a look at that if you haven't already seen it. What is the best time to come to the UK within August and September? David, I'm going to ask you to maybe tell us a little bit more about what you mean by that. Do you mean coming to visit and maybe have a look around the university, or do you mean you're going to come and study with us? So I'll ask you to clarify that. If it's just about coming on holiday, we do have quite nice summers. Last year was record-breaking. Temperatures were through the roof. So if that's something you're interested in, when it comes to visiting the university campus, if you wanted to see some of the facilities, absolutely, from a professional support side, we can do that anytime that we're in the office. You would have to remember that our academics do in fact take their holidays in the summer because at every other time they are teaching. So if you wanted to meet an academic or speak to someone on your program, it's probably better to do that prior to the summer break, if you can do that, and it would have to be during the week. Nicholas, I read in the winter that Newcastle in sunlight is just 5 hours a day. What is the general weather there? Oh, Nicholas, I don't know what you've been looking at. David.
I don't think it's true. No, I wouldn't say. Actually, have you seen the weather today and yesterday? It was sunny all day from morning to late evening. Yeah. So it's actually, the weather can be quite nice in here. What I would say, since Newcastle is on the coast, it's quite windy. Yeah, that's what I would say. But it doesn't, like a lot of Czech people say, oh, it's always raining in the UK, and no, absolutely not true. Like it does rain sometimes, but like I've experienced like even 2 weeks of full sunlight, just sunny. So it's the general weather is nice. In the winter, it's actually nicer than in the Czech Republic because it's warmer. It's not as cold than.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed, for example, my first year, I spent the winter in the UK, so I wasn't as cold as they were. And in the summer, I went back to Czech Republic, which was again warmer than the UK. So I picked the best of the two.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think there is maybe a little bit of a myth about coming to the UK, even from countries who are further north than us and have more snow and less sunlight. Last year we did have a record-breaking summer. The East Coast is actually drier than the West. So as David said, we are on the coast, so you will experience potentially more windy sort of weather. But actually from a wetness point of view, we have considerably less rain than the east of the country. And as for sunlight, well, you know, the days do get shorter in the winter time, but I believe that we do have more than 5 hours sunlight a day. We're not quite as far north as Norway, so you don't need to worry about that too much. We don't have any other questions at the moment. Can you tell us about your, I don't know if you've mentioned it, your placement year that you've got coming up?
I'll just talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe why you decided to do a placement in English, and you know, what do you see the benefits for after that?
So I've mentioned in the beginning that like the placement opportunity was actually one of the reasons why I have decided to go study to the UK. So like not going on a placement wasn't really an option for me. So next year I'll be on a full year placement, which is 12 months in industry in your chosen company and chosen particular path of the degree. So for example, I'm doing business management in general, and I've decided to go to marketing. So I've applied only for marketing placements, and I've applied to various companies from Volkswagen Enterprise through Northumbria University as well, which offers marketing placement, down to Nissan. And just today, I've been offered a placement with Nissan. So I finally secured my job for next year, which is really relieving.
Yes.
Because it takes a lot of work to like prepare the application. But the main benefit is that you will put all your 2 years of theory into practice. And I've done actually research to this in one of my modules. And most employers are more likely to employ you if you have done a placement than if you haven't done any. So, and really, as you have seen, like 200 students went for a placement last year, like that, 220, something like that. So you can see it's really gonna boost your career. It's gonna kickstart you, and then it's gonna be way easier for you to go either to a full-time job or to a graduate scheme.
Yeah. So do you think the process that you went through to apply for the placement will benefit you when it comes to applying for jobs when you graduate?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I feel that the application process for placements are actually harder than for a normal job because there's more stages.
Yeah.
So for example, for Nissan, I had 5 stages in total.
Wow.
So it was CV and cover letter. Then I did phone screening interview. Then I did online tests. Then assessment center, which was a day spent in their office. And the last I had this morning, which was phone call with the line manager just to confirm which department I would be suitable for and if they are really what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So basically 5 stages in total. I've never seen this before, like in the Czech Republic, and in like this difficult application process. So it does take, I would say, a lot of time, like more than I expected. But at the same time, it prepares you for the career. And after this, you'll be prepared for any possible application process.
Yeah. The assessment center, I think, as David mentioned, is something that we would prepare you for, but it's something that if you take the opportunity to do a placement in your 3rd year, then that sets you up for success for when you graduate, because it's not new for you. So you have the practice, you have the skills, and not only that, when you're writing your CV, you're writing your resume, you have an entire year's worth of experience to put on your CV that other graduates won't have. So when they're comparing in their graduate training schemes, this graduate who has a degree and it's great, or this graduate who has a degree and it's great, and they have a placement year, then they are going to consider probably the person with the experience. And don't forget as well, there's the networking. Obviously, we can't guarantee that you will get a job when you leave university. You know, we will help you as much as we can, but it is down to you. But what we have found is that some of our graduates have impressed their placement employers so much that they have been guaranteed a job when they leave university. So again, that's something that you want to consider if you really want to kickstart your career.
I would say many companies, like if you're on placement and you really work hard and they like you, they're likely to offer you graduate placement right when you finish the placement year. So then you just have to finish your final year, do your dissertation, finish your course, and then you can go straight to your career. You have already job secured, which is good as well.
Yeah. I think Simone's asked a relevant question here. When do you start with the placement procedure? So when do you have to start looking for the job?
So it has been mentioned to us at the end of the first year to start thinking about writing a CV, what to put in there, maybe thinking more about which pathway of the career we would like to go in. But mostly in, I'd say, September, October, you start really applying. So the large organizations have deadlines in the first semester, mostly in December. And then the smaller companies like based around Newcastle in the Northeast or in Scotland, they start opening the presentation, the roles only after January. So if you want to work for a large company, you have to apply early on because they have the budget set and they know it more in advance. But then obviously you can still apply throughout from January to May, up to May.
Right.
Yeah. But the procedure, like I've started working on it in October and November, mostly in November.
And that was in your second year at university?
In my second year. Yeah. So you don't have to worry about it in the first year.
No, I mean, it's something to consider. You can see what job opportunities are available. Obviously, we've got the career service. You can speak to students that are already here to see what sort of placements they're on. We have a dedicated placement team actually here that work alongside me, and they can tell you all about the placements that are available at the moment, or the sorts of placements that students are already out on. And often what we will do is we'll say to employers, you know, we've taken some for this many years, we guarantee to give maybe 4 of our students some placements. So we have an excellent relationship with a lot of employers globally. And if you remember back to the slide in the presentation, that's over 560 employers that you have access to. I think David actually just asked how many students successfully got a placement. What's the percentage? I can't give you the percentage, but I think it was around 270 students last year, or in 17-18, because we don't have the figures for 18-19 yet. So for 17-18, it was around 270 students. It actually seems like quite a small number when you consider the number of students that might be in the third year in total. Unfortunately, some students do see an extra year at university, so a 4-year degree instead of a 3-year degree. They see that as a bad or a scary thing. They don't want to waste their time sort of doing a placement year. So it's why we get people like David who really, really see the benefits to it, to chat to you and hopefully change your mind. I know some people are scared about the fees. Now, obviously, the student loan pays your full fees, and actually in the third year, your fees will drop down to £1,350 or £1,850, depending on if you study or work abroad. So your fees aren't going to be that top level price that you see that you'll be paying for the rest of your degree. But also what you do get, and you know what David will get when he goes out on placement, is the full support as if he was still a student. So it's not like we send them off into the world of work and go, take care, and then, you know, come back in your final year. You have access as a full student and to all of our help and advice services if you need them. So, you know, it might not be something that crossed your mind, you know, it might be something that you thought about doing, or you might be like, absolutely not a 4-year degree. But really, you need to consider the long-term planning as opposed to just, you know, being at university.
To be honest, I think it's mainly British students who don't go on a placement.
Yeah.
Most international students are actually trying to get into it, or at least go study abroad. But like most British students are just like, I don't want to spend an extra year at university. I'd rather finish off early on.
Yeah. which is a shame. But you know, as you can see, you know, if you ever talk to me, I will absolutely tell you about how important it is. It was something I had to do. So from my own experience, I did a year out. I actually worked in the French Alps for a year, which was pretty nice. And I left my, it was an international hospitality management degree, and I walked into a management position when I left university, and that was all based on the experience that I had. So you can see how it can benefit you. Now, Nicholas has actually asked about the credits on the website. So when you look through your degree programs, I'm guessing this is what you mean, and you look through the modules, you'll see that they all have credits attached to them. Now, every academic year at university, for Northumbria University, has a value of 120 credits. So some years will literally add up entirely to 120 credits. Other years you will look at a list and a list and a list of lots of different credits. In that instance, it may be that you can choose from a range of core or optional modules. Anything that is a core module, you must take. Anything that is an optional module is something that you add on if you're interested. It's a bit of a long-winded explanation. If you choose to do a pathway on some of our degrees, then we will choose those optional modules for you. If you do a general degree, something similar like psychology, for example, then you take your core modules, you add them up, and then you make up the rest of the modules to 120 credits, and it's your choice. So yes, you do have to achieve a certain number of credits. That is all explained to you when you get here, but it's not something you really need to worry about. What I will say is if you see a module worth 60 credits, like your dissertation, then that's obviously a high value module. You want to be working on that. You would do that for like the full time of the year alongside some smaller value modules alongside it. So again, something to bear in mind.
But compared to the Czech system, I would say it's a bit different, because here, if you have an exam and when you have an exam, so you have to pass it, which is 40% or more. So if you achieve 40% or more, you have passed and you can continue on. If you fail a module, you will resit it in August. And this is different to Czech Republic, when you have like a term for an exam. If you don't make it, you go next week again. So this is a bit different, but you don't have to worry about it too much, I would say.
No, I think as long as you put the work in, you know, we don't want to fail you. And you know, as I said, the academics are there to assist you if you have any extra requirements, if you don't understand what's being asked of you. You know, you've got your fellow students who are all there to work with you. So especially if you do teamwork or seminar work, then you know, everyone. It's a very, very supportive environment. So it's definitely not something to worry about. We have a question in Czech. I'm not going to try and guess what it is. I don't know if you want to maybe translate it as well, so I can maybe.
So Adela is asking if she can choose to do a placement when she's already studying here, or if she has to choose it before she applies for a course. So I would say this varies from course to course. So some courses have optional placement here, and some of them have compulsory. So I would say, is there any course that doesn't have the option of placement? No. So basically, whichever course you apply to, you can always choose to do a placement here.
So some courses, they are mandatory.
Sometimes you have to. Sometimes you can choose to.
So if your course you have to have one, then unfortunately you can't not do a placement. But as David said, you can choose not to do a placement in the majority of our degrees. Fashion, for example, there you must take a placement in your second and your third year. I know in some of the business degrees you must take a placement.
Just for example, my degree. So business management, general business management means that you have to do a placement year. And for example, if you go for international business management, you have to do a placement year abroad. So you can't be based in the UK.
No. So if that's something that you want to ask a little bit more about, feel free to send me an email and we can see what degree that you're doing and we can see if it's something that you have to do or not. We have no more questions at the moment. I don't know, have you talked about sort of how you're finding Newcastle now that you've been here for a while. Have you mentioned that at all?
Maybe I just touch on it a little bit. So Newcastle, I feel, is great that it's the student city. So basically, there's 2 universities. So majority of the population, majority of the people you meet in the city center is students, which affects the city in general. So you will see a lot of pubs or clubs. Mainly clubs in the city center, so there's always something going on for students, be it in the students' union with your societies or sports, or it could be also like separate if you just go out to the town every day, be it Monday, be it Friday, whichever day, there's always somewhere to go. So that's why I really like it about Newcastle. I also said that I like how compact it is, so like you can walk everywhere, which is really nice. And thinking about the shopping as well, so basically I live in Sandefjord and there's a lot of corner shops around. So český vlastně malý sámošky, jestli si dokážete představit, so small corner shops. But otherwise you have the large chain supermarkets as well as Tesco, Asda, Lidl.
So there's everything. There is everything for
everything. Everything is closed. Everything is nearby, which is good.
We've just had a Veronica again. If you can translate that. For
she's asking me if I'm satisfied with my chosen course.
You can answer that in Czech if you like.
Já vlastně, co se týče toho business managementu, tak jak už bylo zmíněno, prvák je takový hodně obecný pro všechny biznesové obory dohromady, takže spoustu předmětů máte společných. Tím pádem ten prvák mě neoslovil tolik, jako jsem si myslel, ale naopak teď, co jsem v druháku, tak už jsem z toho mnohem víc nadšený. První semestr druháku mě vlastně bavil úplně ohromně oproti prváku. Především vlastně HR, co jsem měl, Human Resources. A je vidět, jak ta univerzita se nás snaží ve všem tlačit do té praktičnosti. Takže třeba v tom HR jsme měli 1 hodinu lekce, a cokoliv, co jsme probrali, tak jsme pak v semináři, 2hodinovém semináři, házeli do praxe, takže například jsme měli efektivní komunikaci na pracovišti. Přišli jsme do semináře, lektorka nám rozdala obálky, každý jsme dostali roli a měli jsme executive board meeting a vlastně každý jsme měli svoji roli a museli jsme podle toho dojít k řešení, dojít k rozhodnutí během hodiny. A právě to se mi na tom líbí, že všechno tohle z toho rovnou uplatňuju. Takže rozhodně jsem spokojený na tom oboru, na jakým jsem. A hlavně jsem spokojený, že jsem šel do Anglie, že mi to tady otvírá spoustu možností, co se týče networkingu. Poznáte tady spoustu lidí z různých částí světa, nebo i z různých částí Anglie a to by se vám v Čechách asi jen tak nestalo.
Lovely. So Simona is just...
If I spend a lot of time with Czech students who are in Newcastle, or if I'm more with British or international students. Jak se to vezme? Třeba v prváku já jsem v seminární skupině, jak jsem říkal, že nás bylo 20, tak jenom v této skupině jsme byli 3 Češi a všichni 3 jsme skončili v jednom týmu, takže v týmu z 5 lidí jsme byli 3 Češi, takže to v prváku jsem hodně času trávil s Čechy. Letos už trošku míň a myslím si, mě třeba nejvíc dává, já jsem docela workoholik, takže mě nejvíc dává práce, brigáda a tam jsem převážně teda s Britama. Je to o tom, co si vyberete, co vám vyhovuje víc. Například já jsem se snažil hodně jít mezi lidi, hodně mezi Brity, hlavně kvůli angličtině, abych se na to víc zvyknul, abych se víc naučil přemýšlet v angličtině a teďkom to mám tak půl na půl. Ale řekl bych, že nejvíc česky komunikuju, když komunikuju s někým z domova. Tady vlastně akorát s těma pár, mám tady třeba do 5 studentů českých, se kterými se hodně bavím a pak se bavím se zbytkem s cizincema.
Great. So Dave, you've asked if you want to take a year placement and failed, and when is the last call or the last chance to move your year abroad option? Do you? What I'm thinking that you mean is, if you were in your 2nd year
and you don't find a placement,
and you don't find
I can actually talk about it because I've encountered this issue right now. So the deadline for study abroad has been on the end of January. The 31st of January was the deadline for study abroad. However, I spoke to one of my friends who still doesn't have a placement because she's on international business management, so she can't apply for placements in the UK. And when you apply for placements abroad, it's slightly later on. So for people like her, if if you don't find a placement, they will reopen the study abroad option again, I would say March or April. So there still is the option. However, they say that study abroad should not be your second option. So it's better for you to focus either fully on placement year or fully on study abroad. So you can focus all your energy on just one of the things. And for me personally, I didn't want to go study abroad at all. I just wanted to do full industrial placement. So that's where I focused. And I kept hoping that I will get, I actually spoke to a lot of other Czech students from other universities, and some of them secured a placement only in May or even in June. So it's just don't rush it, because I felt like if I don't get a placement in January, I would panic, I would freak out.
Yeah.
But there's no reason to freak out. You still have the time up till May, June.
Yeah. I mean, it is a competitive process. But don't forget that you've got the university backing behind you. So especially where it's mandatory that you have to do a placement, we will make sure that you get something. So again, attend the meetings, speak to the experts, speak to the students, and do your research, and put the time in. We'll back you as much as we can, as long as you also do the work that sort of you need to do. Now, Monica, again, we've got a Czech question.
Do I have to secure accommodation before I go there in September? Would you recommend any accommodation with reasonable price and a kitchen? So yes, you have to secure your accommodation before September. So actually, I have secured my accommodation in April, I think, April or in May before September, before I went. So you choose your accommodation, and then you just pay the deposit, and then you all set up. You can get in there.
Yeah.
This applies for the student halls and the university. I've heard from people who just came to the UK, who actually were looking last time for accommodation, and they went to private flat accommodation, and they've only found it in August, end of August. So very last time. It is possible as well.
Yeah.
You only might end up not as close to the university.
Or paying more money.
Which accommodation I would recommend? As I said, Glenamara is really nice because you have the room for yourself. You have a sink in the room. You don't have a bathroom for yourself, but you have the sink in your room, and you share the kitchen and you share the bathroom. So I think Glenamara is really nice, and it's literally 3 minutes walk from the business school. So it's very close.
You can roll out of bed first class.
Yeah, and it's reasonable price. It's £104 a week, all bills included. So it's £416 a month.
Yeah.
With all the bills, so you don't have to worry about anything.
No, all of our accommodation comes with bills included. So your gas, your water, electricity, and your Wi-Fi. And that's in your bedrooms and also in the public areas. So you never have to worry about paying anything extra. What I would suggest is go onto the accommodation pages and do some research about the different places that are available to you, and then maybe think about a budget as to what you'll be prepared to pay. It would be unusual to not get a part-time job when you come to the UK. So that is when you can sort of decide how much you think you might be able to afford, and obviously if you're going to get support from home as well. But I wouldn't recommend, as David said, leaving it to the last minute. And it's mostly because you may end up further away from the university, or if you want to be closer, you will be paying more money. And obviously that's not something that we want our students to be in a position for.
A lot of Czech students also who were in my year went to Lovain flats, which is the cheapest option. Yeah. Well, Klogib is the cheapest, but Lovain is like second cheapest. But there you share the kitchen with more people. It's like, I think, 2 flats for 1 kitchen.
Yeah.
So it really depends on what your standard is and what your budget is.
Yeah. You're never going to know really until you get there, but have a look at the numbers and to sort of like have a think and maybe talk to people that you might know about what you're prepared to deal with when you're living. Think about, are you a quiet person? Do you like to be around crowds? Do you like to be part of a centre of attention? Do you want to be in a noisy flat or a quieter flat? All those sorts of things are things to take into consideration. Is there anywhere like a campus restaurant on site? We have actually about 15 cafes and restaurants actually on the campus. So anything from Starbucks, Costa, through to the Northumberland cafe where you can buy sandwiches, meals. In the business school, there's a full restaurant where you can buy hot meals, all really reasonably priced. And we actually have a contactless system. So you've got your student card. It's a student card?
No, it's loyalty card.
Loyalty card, which you're going to load with money, and then you can just pay as you go for that sort of thing. But the campus is fully set up. You probably, if you didn't want to, you could do your weekly shop in the campus shop. You could go to your gym, go to your classes and eat without ever leaving the campus. Yeah. So whilst we are a city centre with everything around us within 5-10 minutes, if you never wanted to leave campus, you don't have to. So that's entirely up to you, really.
And there's also a habitat under the Students' Union.
Yes, so there is that.
Which is in the center of the campus. That's the place I work at. It's under the Students' Union, and there's a load range of excellent food. The pizzas are famous.
Yes, they're great pizzas.
And it's students' prices as well. So it's like £5 for the pizza, £4. So it's really cheap.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're down to Lucas.
Yes.
That
was replying, yeah.
Yes.
I think you were mentioning something about placement abroad, but I missed it. So I want to ask again, if I'm planning to study computer science, will I have the opportunity to also place abroad?
Yes, if you want to be. It depends on what you were thinking about being placed in, what sort of company you were thinking about being placed in. If we had any links with any computer science businesses abroad that would be suitable for you. Or whether we would say, actually, we probably recommend staying in the UK because you will get a better experience. What I'd suggest is you come to the university, and when you come, that's when you can start speaking to our study abroad placements team, see what's available to you, see where students are. And if there was somewhere that you wanted to get a placement, but we didn't have a link, for example, then potentially we might be able to assist you in getting a placement there. Again, it's not something that I could or we could guarantee, but if you thought that there was somewhere that would benefit you and it was in another country other than the UK, then we could look into helping you with that. Now, so Nicholas, yes, this is going to be recorded. This is on YouTube forever. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but yes, you will be able to look back at this. I think if you just Google the Czech webinar for students, you should be able to find it on the Northumbria Global channel, and you'll be able to watch us in all of our glory from the beginning as many times as you want. I'm going to ask, we're 5:20, and you guys have been incredible with some brilliant questions. Now, while we're still here, have we got anything else? Is there anything else that you think would be beneficial for Czech students to know?
I think I've got it all. We spoke about Newcastle.
Yes.
We spoke about placement years.
Yes.
I spoke about English and
Yes.
Georgia accent. You have a question?
No.
To us?
Lucas,
okay.
Thank you.
That's great. I think we spoke about accommodation as well.
Yes. Yeah.
Adapting to the culture.
Yeah.
So I think we've got it all, unless anyone has any more questions.
I feel like we have covered anything. One thing I will say is, if you are planning on coming to study in the UK, please obviously use our very, very valuable colleagues in the Czech Republic, Unilink. David was kind enough to be one of their ambassadors for me when I attended Gaudiamus this year, and they are experts in the field of coming to study in the UK. So if you are planning on applying, then they are definitely the best people to help you with that, right through from application through to arriving in the UK, wherever you decide to attend. On the application process, I'll come to you in a second, Veronica. On the application process, you don't have to have applied now. You can apply right up until July, August time, and the UK goes through something called clearing. So the 15th of January is kind of a soft deadline. It is the recommended deadline, but 100% do not worry if you haven't applied. Okay, Veronica, I will tell you from my experience, I am gluten-free, I am dairy-free, and I am egg-free. And it is very, very easy to eat, though that dietary requirement in the UK. Certainly all of the big supermarket chains and places like Aldi and Lidl all have the free from sections. You know, we've got a market, the Granger Market in the centre of the city, which has got all the fresh foods. So if you're a meat eater or you want to buy your fresh vegetables so that you know what you're eating and what you're cooking, then absolutely super, super easy. And many of the restaurants are all set up, you know, so if you want to eat out, they'll show it in their menus what's gluten-free or, you know, any of the dietary requirements. The same goes for vegan, pescatarian if you only eat fish, celiac, Crohn's, you know, anything like that, the UK definitely set up for, definitely.
Yeah,
I think that is all.
I would just say, if you think about any more questions, definitely you can ask Unilink. You can drop an email to Kirsty, or they will have contact for me as well. So if you think about more questions, we will be more than happy to answer them electronically via email.
Dave, I'm going to ask you to send me an email and what percentage of students want to take year placement are actually successful. Sadly, I don't actually have that figure on the top of my head, but certainly what I can do is if you email me, get my email address from my Unilink colleagues, then I can certainly get that information for you without a shadow of a doubt. About placement for history and English literature degrees. Unfortunately, again, my expertise does not lie in sort of precisely where students might go on specific degrees. But again, I can certainly get that information for you. My email address is available from the Unilink colleagues, and I will happily respond to that. There's a lot of information on the website as well. So if you want to go onto the website and look under, you know, students coming to and from the UK, then you can certainly do that as well. I'm gonna bring this to a close. I think for the last two questions, and for anybody else watching this, my email address is kirsty.sets-clark@northumbria.ac.uk. Again, colleagues from Unilink can supply you with that. And if they can't respond to the question on my behalf, then I can certainly get the information and answer for you. It's been a pleasure. I hope it's been valuable. Thank you to David, obviously, for taking the time to come and do this. For anyone that wonders, this is recorded, so you can watch this back. And the chat function that we've had down the side of the screen is something that you're going to be able to look at. And I think we've referred to every question that's come down, and the responses followed the question. So you should be able to follow it quite well. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you to you.
Bye-bye.